Well, good evening. Welcome to Sports Today, and you are on Cricket Chit Chat with Dasgupta. We're going to look at a lot of talking points around that fourth T20I between India and England, which India won to draw level 2-2 in the five-match series with the decider on Saturday. The controversial soft signal, of course, India's ODI team was announced this morning. But before we get into all of that, here's a quick look at why you should download the How's That app.
क्या आप भी किसी अपने सपने मेरे तुम्हारे टीम 11 पे टीम बना रहे हो और बच्चों के साथ खेल रहे हो? हमारे साथ खेलोगे? हाउस ऐप पे खेलो लेजेंड्स के साथ, हमें हरा और जीतो डबल कैश. लॉग ऑन टू houseit.com and win real cash.
Right, then do download the How's That app, make your own teams, and challenge your experts on sports today. But Deep, how are you holding up? There's been a lot of, in fact, just before the show, me and my producer we were talking about your commentary stint, and it's you're raising the game every day. You're raising the bar every day. How are you holding up with this long stint?
I mean, so kind of both of you to actually say that. But yeah, I mean, listen, it was fun. It was a great game, isn't it? I think it's important that the game is it has to be interesting, and it was. I mean, for the first time in the series, that the game went on to the last over and was pretty close. Obviously, first time a team batting first won the game, defended successfully. So I think the game itself was so interesting till the 18th, 19th over. In fact, till the last over, I mean, after those after that 4 and a 6, I mean, it was still possible. It looked possible. So yeah, it was such a wonderful game.
Right, no, and it was indeed an exciting game. Some exciting young blood in the team now. Ishan Kishan on debut. Surya Kumar Yadav in his maiden international innings. What did you make of that? Now comes out, starts with a six, and it's like no pressure. We played for Mumbai Indians in the IPL. Let's just go and have a ball.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think obviously it does help to have all that experience behind him of playing at that level. I mean, not international cricket per se, but obviously when you play IPL, it is closer to that international level. And, someone like him has already played Jofra Archer before, has played, Compton, who obviously wasn't there, but, Ben Stokes before. So you know that you've done well against the top bowlers in the world in the IPL. So you have that confidence. And also, I think a lot of praise to Surya for his obviously the talent that he's got and the temperament that he's got. But also, I also have to give credit to the team management to have allowed the newcomers to come and play the way that they have, and the reason why they have been selected. Just allow them to play freely. I think obviously credit to those individuals and also to the team management for letting them play the way they want to.
Right. And also the fact that Virat Kohli demoted himself to number four for two successive games. So of course, he got runs.
Yeah, and you know what? It's interesting, Raju, and the more I think about it, and the more I think about this playing 11, this current playing 11, and I think that makes a lot of sense, because you have Rohit, KL opening, then you have someone like Surya to come in and bat at 3 and bat freely. So my point is Virat coming at 4. If there are early wickets, then Virat can handle it. And then you have and Virat and Rohit are split by someone like Surya. Both Rohit and Virat can control the innings. So, you have someone like a KL Rahul and Surya to play their natural games and be explosive. And also at number 5, you have someone like a Rishabh Pant who can again be very explosive. So can Shreyas and Hardik. So I don't know. I mean, I don't mind the batting order, to be honest.
Right. That's an interesting take because a lot of us thought that Virat Kohli had just demoted himself down the order temporarily, want to just allow.
Raju,
That's an interesting
actually
take.
sorry, if you look at last couple of years, this is not the first time that he's come and batted at number 4. There have been quite a few instances that he's batted at 4 in T20 cricket.
Right, and what does that do to the combination? Because obviously India have gone with 5 bowlers here. Of course, we discussed the fact that Ravindra Jadeja coming back in, that will then have to the bowling and the batting lineup. But how does that combination work there? Either of Shreyas or Surya will miss out in that circumstance, or do you reckon Ishan Kishan is now pressing for a more regular place? Of course, he was injured the other day. But what happens to the combination in that case?
I think the combination might change a bit as soon as Jadeja comes in, because I think the way Jadeja has been batting, you can replace a batsman with Jadeja, giving you the luxury of 6 bowlers. I don't think you will again, I'm repeating myself, but the way Jadeja's did batting, you will not deplete the batting depth if you get Jadeja in place of a batsman. So I just have a feeling that when Jadeja comes in, then one of the batsmen has to go.
Right. And Deep, you were at the ground obviously last night, but put into perspective this bowling performance for us because the ball was wet and obviously the dew factor played heavily right on the players and the
Yeah.
bowlers' minds. But for this is not even the first choice Indian bowling attack, like we've discussed several times on our shows. Just put
Uh,
that into perspective.
I think they were absolutely phenomenal because the amount of dew that was there, I know we kept mentioning it, but because we were there, we could actually see the amount of dew. And it can't be, I mean, can't be easy. I mean, no matter how well prepared you are or how much you've practiced, but it can never be easy under pressure. So, I mean, someone like a Chahar rather, bowling so well. I know he went for 32 or 34, which I think is not bad at all. And then the faster bowlers, I mean, someone like Hardik going for 16 is phenomenal. But again, I mean, the fact that again it was an off day for someone like Washington Sundar, but that can happen, especially in this format. That can happen. So that just keeps reminding the team management and everyone that maybe you should have a sixth bowling option, and that's where I think even the batsmen, someone like a Shreyas Iyer and all, should be encouraged in the next bowl. Maybe just be good enough to bowl couple of overs. They don't have to bowl 4 overs. 1 over here, a couple of overs takes the pressure off the captain as well, and gives the captain some elbow room.
Right, right. And of course, the fact that Hardik Pandya is now bowling full tilt, not only is he bowling his full quota of overs, he bowled brilliantly again, like you said, extreme dewy conditions and return figures of 2 for 16 of his 4. Great signs for India this ahead of the World Cup.
Yeah, and also the smartness with which I think the Indian bowlers bowl, especially the fast bowlers, because I mean they do understand they don't have the pace like someone like a Mark Wood or a Jofra Archer. But what they're good at is bowling those slower deliveries. And I thought they bowled brilliantly those back of the length slower deliveries, staying away from the arc, made sure they bowled those slower deliveries outside of stump, making sure it's not in their hitting zone. So I thought there was a lot of discipline, good planning, and execution.
Right. Also, since you mentioned a lot of these players, they'll play integral parts in the ODI series. But before I come to the ODI team selection, the two innocuous sounding words: soft signal. Also, the
Oh,
umpire's call. Right. There's been so much. Simple question. If you are
yeah,
going to rely on technology, then why lay emphasis on an on-field call in the first place? Because you're not
fair.
going to be able to see something from a distance of 50, 60, 70 meters, as was the case with Adil Rashid, 40, as was the case with Surya's dismissal, and then you putting pressure on the third umpire who has all the technical assistance at his disposal to ensure that he has conclusive evidence for someone who did not get conclusive evidence on the field. Why have that? Do you support it?
Well, okay, to start off with the umpire's call thing, or rather the soft decision, soft signal, I'd say yes, because fundamentally what you're doing is telling the world that the umpire, the on-field umpire, is still the boss. He's the authoritative figure on the field. So I'm completely fine with that. But another important thing, it's very difficult for an on-field umpire to figure out whether that was out or not out, as you mentioned, 40, 50, 60 yards from where they are. It's very difficult. I mean, someone who's taken the catch, I mean, he himself, David Malan himself, wasn't aware whether he'd taken it legally or not. So it's extremely difficult for them. So as I think Virat mentioned, and few of us mentioned on air as well, I think for a situation like these, the umpire should have the option of saying, you know what, I'm sorry, but it's not possible for me to figure out whether it was out or not out, and then pass it on to the third umpire. It shouldn't be mandatory for the umpires in these cases to kind of come up with a soft decision or soft signal. I can understand if it's inside the 30-yard circle, slip point, where it's in the direct view of the umpire. But something like this, because it was behind the square leg umpire as well. I'm sure he must have seen it. He must have turned around and seen the catch. But like you mentioned, I mean, 40, 50 yards away, it's not fair. And the other important thing is, even though it is, in my personal opinion and view, that even though the umpire said that, I mean, the soft signal was not out, sorry, out rather, I personally think the video proof that we saw was conclusive enough to say that the ball had touched the ground. So even though the signal was out, I thought, I think the ball had touched the ground. And I think those pictures there were conclusive enough to kind of say it was not out.
Okay, let me play the devil's advocate in that case because during the day-night test match, Ben Stokes had taken this catch of Shubman Gill at the slip corner. They
Yeah.
they figured out they had conclusive evidence after 2 frames. Here they looked at froze several frames, closed in, zoomed in. A lot of us, including yourself on air, or a lot of your co-commentators, a lot of us thought the ball had been grasped. Was the third umpire under pressure because of the England reaction in the day-night test match? Could that have played a factor?
Uh, you never know. I mean, obviously, I mean, what the umpire's thinking, it's difficult to say, but on-field umpires, I mean, I'm sure they might, I mean, the body language of the player does kind of influence a bit. I would like to believe. I don't know. I mean, because it's a very individual thing. But I would like to believe that the body language, I'm sure everyone looks at, I mean, all of us, even us as viewers, when we look at somebody's body language, we say whether it was out or not out, or you see the confidence level and all that. So yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, yes, but again, this soft signal, I think, should be made kind of shouldn't be made mandatory, I think, especially for catches outside the 30-yard circle. um, India, I mean, maybe you should just let the umpires say, it's all right if you haven't if you don't know what it is.
Right. Now, Deep, is very interesting because there are two schools of thought here. One is what you are saying, and what is also the MCC Cricket Committee said that it works well in the 30-yard circle. And like Virat mentioned, and like you said, there are again your voices from the cricket fraternity, which suggest that the umpire should have an I don't know call. But the thing is, it's okay for the ICC to say that the on-field umpire is still the boss. He still rules the roost in the middle. But then, if he's standing right next to the action when a stumping decision goes up, when a run-out decision goes up, even if it's so clear, the third umpire is calling no balls. Why should you let that element even remain with the on-field umpire?
I completely agree because, in fact, we were having the same debate this morning at the breakfast table, and this point came up because I mean, for example, run out. I mean, the umpire doesn't give a soft signal for a stumping. We go straight away to the third umpire. So why not for this? Well, can do that. I mean, I'm not averse to that. Can do that, like you said. I mean, if it can be done for run out and stumping, then why not for catches? Yeah, okay. I'm all right with that as well. But if you still want to go with umpire's call, I'm happy with that too. But like I said, I mean, should be allowed to the umpire should be allowed to say, I didn't see it, or
No,
I'm not
also,
sure.
yeah. No, but that's what the umpires and Deep is making some very interesting points here because this is a raging debate around that sparked off after the controversial catch last night. But Deep, again, I'm not suggesting David Malan did what he did on purpose, claiming that catch, but there have been instances, right, in the past because of this whole spirit of cricket. This whole spirit of cricket thing. Sometimes cricketers would just let them know. The fielders would just let that it's not a clean catch. But now with the with the soft signal, with he's only relying, because it's a 50-50 chance. You never know. The soft signal comes out. Then why would a player bother telling his captain that look, it's not a clean catch? Would David Malan, to make it simpler, would David Malan have cleaned this catch if there was no soft signal involved in the rules?
Listen up. I'll be honest. I think as a fielder, also sometimes you can't figure out. I mean, sometimes because things are so close, it's difficult to figure out whether you've kind of grasped it or not. And if you've seen it, what my how I saw it was, the ball was in his hand, but at the point of impact, his finger split open like that, or rather his hands, and then he kind of grabbed it with his fingernails, not the tips, but the fingernails like that. Uh, and I think that there was a couple of frames where you could see that there was no fingers under the ball. That's my opinion. But as a fielder, when you're in that moment, it becomes very difficult to figure out whether you've actually grasped it or not, because you've got it, because you've come up with the ball, right? The first impact was in the hand, inside the hand, in his palms, right? And then he's also come up with the ball. So it's very difficult for the fielder to figure out whether any part of the ball was stuck in the
Right,
ground.
right. No, very, very, very valid points and points well taken. But moving on to the Indian ODI team selection announced this morning around
Yeah.
10:30. Right,
Hmm.
Surya Kumar Yadav finds a place. Prasidh Krishna, Krunal Pandya gets an ODI call up. What do you reckon? No Jadeja, no Shami, no Bumrah. Of course, Bumrah recently got married, but um, pleasant problem of plenty here. You have Shikhar, you have Rohit, you have Shubman, KL Rahul now with Rishabh Pant coming into the team. Is it likely to free him of his wicket-keeping responsibilities? And also the fact that when MS Dhoni retired and when we realized that he was going to go, you would wondering how many wicket-keeper batsmen would come up. But now you have Rishabh, Ishan, and KL Rahul, who's done well as a wicket-keeper batsman at number 5.
True. Listen, I think first of all, Mike is not there. I don't think he's done too much wrong for him to not be there. So I'm a little kind of surprised for Mike. I know we won't, I mean, not too many people will be talking about him, but I don't find any reason why he's not there. So that's a little unfortunate as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, I mean, I guess it would be more like what the ODI team was in the last game. Obviously, some of your main bowlers are missing because of injury or personal reasons. Bumrah is not there, obviously, for personal reasons, and then you have someone like a Jadeja and Shami, who are kind of injured and are still recovering. But even then, I mean, if you look at that side, I mean, it looks really good. I mean, that looks like a really, really good side.
Right. And the fact that also the bowlers, Prasidh Krishna, he's
Yeah.
got a spot in
Because
the team.
yeah, I mean, I see. Sorry, Raj. I mean,
Yeah.
Tushar Pandeyji is here, and first of all, thank you so much, Tushar Pandeyji, for the compliments. And he's mentioned about Nagarkoti and Shivam Mavi. I think the next lot is now coming through, isn't it? I mean, Siraj and Siraj and Navdeep Saini, Natarajan, they're coming through. So as far as Mavi and Nagarkoti are concerned, yes, I'm sure their time will also come. Prasidh Krishna, because he's part of that crew, I think Prasidh was very, very impressive during the Vijay Hazare. That tournament, he's picked up every game. He's picked up a couple of wickets, if I'm not wrong, couple of wickets in every game. So he's been very, very good. So I think it's only fair to kind of acknowledge his performances and also reward him for his performances. So that's the reason he's there. And I'm glad that the selectors have chosen to reward domestic performances, because you just finish with your Vijay Hazare, which is a 50 over domestic tournament. So yeah, I mean, that's the reason he's there.
Right. No, and I also seen a lot of comments on social media, Deep, about a couple of the openers. Obviously, Prithvi Shaw, Devdutt Padikkal, Ravi Kumar Samarth did incredibly well during the Vijay Hazare. But these are obvious answers why they're not in the team. But I believe a special mention from you would sort of settle the debate as to why you can't have too many openers on the side, because all these are opening batsmen and you have 3 already in the team.
What actually the big question is, obviously Rohit is one of the best in the world, so obviously he's your number one. You have someone like KL Rahul, who's been batting at number 5, and I think they might just still continue with him at number 5. Then the question is Shikhar. We all know Shikhar's been very good, especially when it comes to ICC. But the next big 50 over tournament is in 2023. Now, that's the question that the selectors need to answer. Do they groom the next opener, or they're going to continue with Shikhar? Now, that's something that the selectors have to answer, because, as you mentioned, you have Padikkal, who's had a fantastic Vijay Hazare. Obviously, Prithvi Shaw. Then you have someone like Mayank, who was part of the squad before. Obviously, KL Rahul can open, and he's done that brilliantly in ODIs as well. So now that's a big question. As in, do you want to continue with Shikhar with the next big tournament? The World Cup is 2 years away, or you want to start grooming the next openers, or give opportunities to the next lot?
And this also does give you a peek into the future, right? But offhand, if I just had to tell you, right, just maybe, I know, it's just roughly to sum up an 11 and ODI 11, because again, three or four of the stars are not here for different reasons. It still looks like an intimidating bowling unit, and that speaks volumes, right? Because you have Bhuvneshwar Kumar who's back.
Yeah.
Um,
And what's
Prasid
beautiful
Krishna.
is, again, back to swinging the ball. We
Right.
haven't really seen that white ball swinging as much, but you see Bhuvi back and swinging both ways. So that's good to see. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. But if I were to ask you for a rough 11 around which you sort of visualize the team playing, what would be your go-to players from this current crop of the squad made for the Human Series?
I think almost. I mean, when I look at that, I actually made my playing 11 according to me. What would be my playing 11 be? And it looks a formidable side, and that's extremely impressive. So, but before that, Rashi, can I just? There's a very good question, and that's something that it's been on my mind as well. Rahul Singh has asked, sir, do you think KL Rahul and Pandya sitting in the bench for the Test series has affected their rhythm due to lack of match practice? And I tell you what, Rashi and Rahul, I think it has. Because obviously they were in the bench, then there was injury. Uh, I don't know whether they were fit enough to play or not, and I hope I wish that they were fit enough to go and play the Vijay Hazare or the Syed Mushtaq Ali Trophy, because I did not see KL Rahul playing the Test matches. I'll be honest, and if he wasn't going to play the Test matches, I think the logical thing for them, and because KL Rahul at this point in time is such an important part of the Indian or as in white ball side, that you would want him to be in form and playing matches, because before this series, the last competitive match that someone like KL Rahul played, or KL in fact played, was way back in December. So it's been a while he hasn't played competitive cricket, and I kind of agree with Rahul that maybe if they were fit, provided they were fit, they should have actually gone and played some domestic cricket.
Right. And that's where the next question is reading out from Sivalingam, saying, will the performances of only players in IPL over Vijay Hazare and Syed Mushtaq be rewarded, and other top performers got rewarded, but they already took that, and he spoke about Prasid Krishna for being that. In fact, Krunal Pandya is another example. He's come through for Mumbai Indians, but he also had a very impressive Vijay Hazare with both bat and ball. So that's rewarding domestic cricket right and proper.
True. I think what the Indian management is also looking at, and that is an area of concern for India, is somebody who can bat in top 6 or top 5 and can bowl. Right. I think they're looking at someone like in T20, Rahul Tewatia was part of the squad, or still is rather part of the squad. Krunal Pandya. I mean, these are players who can bat in the top 5, top 6, and can give you those overs as well. So I think that is something that the Indian team management needs to look at seriously. Either get players like them or encourage existing guys to start bowling a few overs. I think that's one of the reasons why Krunal, I think, is there. Obviously, when Jadeja comes in, that changes the dimension or changes the dynamics completely. But till the time Jadeja is not there, and I think you have to start looking at players like that.
Right. No, it'll be interesting to see what happens when Jadeja is back, because Hardik Pandya is now starting to bowl his full quota of overs. It'll be great to see if he does bowl 7-8 overs, right? That sort of lends a lot of heft to this lineup. But before we close off, there's this series decider. Now, how are the teams going to look at it? Okay, it's a series decider between the top two teams. Both teams will want to obviously win it. But KL Rahul, like you mentioned, maybe his rhythm was affected because he hasn't been playing across formats. He had to sit through those 4 test matches. Would India still go with him? Of course, they've backed him. Virat has backed him before the series. Or do you see some space for Ishan Kishan if he's fit enough to come out and bat tomorrow?
Yeah, that's an important one. But in the post match, he did mention that he should be fine for the decider. But as you mentioned, I mean, I think listen, KL Rahul has, I mean, the faith that the team management is showing in him. I think he's earned it. I think in the way he's batted, he's earned it. And form is a very it's a very tricky thing. You know what? It just takes one good innings or one good shot to something to kind of trigger that confidence. That, like I said, that could be a whole innings, that could be a phase in an innings, that could be one particular shot. So I think KL Rahul, I think, needs to be back because obviously he's a top white ball cricketer and he's done so well in the last few years. I think it deserves a few more chances. Uh, I mean, I think him playing a little bit of domestic cricket would have only helped him and the team, get some valuable match practice. But I think he still should be pursued with, and I don't see too many changes. Even though Ishan, now that's a again a good headache to have, as we all keep saying. Is Ishan, if he's fit, which I believe he might be, if he's fit, then what do we do? I mean, Ishan played so well, and now Surya's done so well. Shreyas has done well. So what do you do? I mean, you really don't have so many places. But then, yeah, I mean, that's a choice that they have to make. But personally speaking, I don't think there'll be a change in the playing 11. As far as I know, the pitch is going to be the one that the second game was played on, the game that India won. I think that's going to be the pitch that will be used tomorrow.
So in that context, are you happy with the five-member bowling attack? Because obviously now it's going to be five members, right? Because you have to play five bowlers. So what that does is Hardik Pandya is batting too low. Is that role also affecting his shot selection? Because he's not been the same player that he was in Australia, of course, you mentioned.
Yeah,
Now he's also stuck with five bowlers.
Yeah, I don't think his batting position has got to do anything with his shot selection. I think he's just backing himself and what he's good at, and it has not fired it yet. And I think I've mentioned it a few times on air as well that because he's looking to go straight, bowlers are bowling back of length to him, and they're bowling quick and back of length, and it's very difficult to hit straight, which is back of length. So back of length, you always look square of the wicket, and all the runs that he scored, if you see, most of them were square of the wicket, were horizontal bat shots. So I think that's something that he might need to look at before the next game. But yeah, I would always prefer a sixth bowling option. But unfortunately, at this point in time, uh, you can't. Then you have to kind of deplete your batting if you get another bowler or a bowler who can bat. So you have someone like an Aksar there, so you can always do that. But I don't know whether the team management would want to do it or not. But I think certainly for the ODIs, because you don't want to put that 10 over pressure on Hardik. He's just started bowling, right? I mean, 4 overs is one thing, and then bowling 10 overs is a different ball game altogether. So I wouldn't want Hardik to be under that kind of pressure, being the fifth bowler or part of the five bowlers. So certainly for ODIs, I want to see a sixth bowling option. And I mean, for tomorrow, I think they might just go with the same.
Right. And before we go tonight, Deep, I'd asked you this question before the first game, on the eve of the first game, and you said you wanted to watch a game and then say what your series prediction was. Penultimate match, last match. What would be your series prediction? I know it's
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been such a close series so far. I mean, I still am 50-50, but my head says 50-50. Obviously, heart says India, and let's go with the heart.
All right. Let's maybe a super over. Who knows?
Oh yeah, that'll be phenomenal. That'll be like proper finale.
Proper finale. Longer matches, longer duration. Right? The test matches got over. 2 test matches in one match. Two test matches got over in 5 days. So that'll be something. Right? The last game of the Ahmedabad leg happens to be a super over in a 2020 game. Right. But thank you so much, Deep Dasgupta, for joining us and for your analysis and taking these questions from our viewers. But we'll be back with more tomorrow. Boria, of course, at 5 and then we'll be back later in the evening to analyze what the series has been like. The series finale tomorrow India 2, England 2. Who will take this T20I series? Do watch Sports Today. Do keep watching Sports Today for all the latest updates and news. And do not forget to download the House app. And thank you so much for supporting this platform. Have a good evening.